caliber bagel machine, which consists of two parts. Dividing section, which cuts the long strip of dough into chunks, and the forming section, which actually takes that chunk and forms it into a bagel. You cut your strip, you want to feed it into the dividing section. Just take the front end and push it underneath the knurled roller. This is the knurled roller. Never putting your hand on the dough, just pushing the dough gently until the main roller begins to pull the dough in as such. Keep your hands free of the belt and don't follow the dough into the line of the machine as an adjustment. If you want to have less dough go in under the machine to make smaller bagels, you can just bring this assembly up and it'll allow smaller amounts of dough to go in. If you want to make larger bagels up to 5.5 ounces, you can bring the arm all the way down. So we've marked it smaller and larger. We're going to start at 4.5, which we've pre-marked, and that's going to be our setting for this run. When the divider begins to cut, the first two pieces you just take and return back to the main feed, and then walk to the other end, and the bagel should be fairly consistent from that point forward. Now I'm going to go down to the forming side, where my bagels are perfectly round. They're going to all weigh about 4.5 ounces. Don't be afraid to let the bagels drop, because we have a table here to catch them, so they don't hit the ground. The machine is also equipped with another safety on the front. Whenever you see a big red button, we call a mushroom button, that's an emergency stop button. So there's one on the divider, and there's also one on the end of the former. An emergency stop button at the end of the machine. You have to stop immediately, and that'll turn the former off. This is the main control box. You have a start and stop button. So you have the green button to start, and of course the red button. So we have here, after the bagel leaves the cutter, it drops onto the belt. The bagel is turning, the dough is turning underneath what we call a pressure plate. The object of this is to take that rectangular slug and gently roll it into a cigar-shaped piece so that it passes into the forming tubes, and because it's closed, it's forced to tie. And the normal setting for this is basically where the bagel enters is 1.5 inch space from the belt to the top of the pressure plate, and on the front end, it's 1 inch from the belt to the top of the pressure plate on the front. So what you have are 3 adjustments. If you want to lift the front of the plate up, you would turn the screw till the plate rises. You want to lower it, you would turn it counterclockwise and the plate would drop. The same in the back. You want to raise the back end for a larger piece of dough, clockwise, a greater space, a larger piece of dough. And the only purpose of this knob is when you're cleaning to unscrew it, to lift up the entire assembly, to wipe it clean. Now the conveyor belt that takes the bagel from the cutter to the forming section basically operates on a large roller that has a motor and a gearbox that drives the drum. It has a tension setup, which is here, and if you run the tension setup opposite, okay, clockwise, you notice the machine is stopping. That's because there's not enough tension on the belt. In order for the dough to travel, there must be tension on the belt, so you tighten the belt tension rollers by going counterclockwise until the machine is running properly. Okay, and now the only time you should ever touch this again is at the end of the run, when you are finished and ready to clean. You want to take the tension off the belt so that the belt doesn't stay in a stretched, dry position. So what you want to do is tighten the belt, bring the tension rollers down to where the point is the belt gets very tense, to like a trampoline. Okay, so you're not getting that. Remember, never put your hand inside the safety guard to test the tension on the belt. Always go underneath the machine, and it's better to do this with the helper because the piece is so long and awkward. Once you get the so I'm going to take these 2 long, tedious screws out, large screw out, the box will open. Okay, and you will see the inside of the forming section. But keep in mind when you take these screws that there's a washer on the end, and you want to make sure this washer stays on the knob itself so it doesn't get caught up in your dough. So make sure the washer is there. You can lay these upside down on that section of the machine. Now you're looking at the inside actual part that forms the whole of the bagel. When that piece leaves here, it travels this belt, and because it's getting squeezed in the tubes, it's forced to close, which is why you have some dough pieces on the seam of the tubes. This piece, known as the mandrel, okay, has a removable end to it, which is just putting this back in again. I'm screwing it. I'm going to make it thumb tight because I remove it a lot, but you always should have a wrench available. This is a 9/16 tool, and that's going to take care of most of the screws that are on the machine. Very simple. I keep a vacuum handy at the end to get everything off the ground. There's a plastic scraper and a cloth, and you're going to just take these loose pieces that are on the forming tubes. You're going to take them, you can drop them to the ground, and again, take a cloth and just wipe them clean, all right? The dust that's collected inside, you can either push out through the screw hole as such, or again, with the vac, just get in there with the vac. The vac is probably the most handy piece of equipment you're going to need to clean this machine.
Wow.
No, you don't want to use water, and definitely no chemicals. Do not. You're going to clean the tension rollers. You take the tension off so that both rollers are even. You just take the lock screw off, and this piece comes right up. Now, you have a little wrench, you're just going to loosen that screw, place that on the table, and these come right off, okay? What you have now is the dried dough that gets into the roller, and just take this with a scraper. Okay, now we're going to reassemble this tension on the belt. That's going to make it difficult to put the enclosure on. So you're going to get the box back up, and you're going to get that long screw started by just squeezing it in to get a start. Once you get that started, okay, you're going to get your other screw. Now you know why they're so long. And get it started on the other end, okay? Again, you're going to have to squeeze, and
These need to be lined up?
no, they would be lined up at the end, okay? So what happens with these, you have to get that box to the point where the screw turns lightly, easy. Putting the guard back on, normally you would have two people. The guard is extremely long and a little awkward. Take that one screw and try to line it up with the screw hole that's here. It's better to do this with the helper because the piece is so long and awkward. And on this end, you're going to tighten them both up. Then you're going to test the machine to make sure that the safeties are engaged electrically. And you can do that by starting the machine. As such, if the belt starts, then you put the safety guard back on.